two very useful things, and they give you back something useful. So one useful thing is they allow you to schedule posts. So I'm going to pick on Lee. If you guys don't know Lee, this is Lee McGonigal. She is a landscape architect. Yeah, sure. She's a landscape architect. So you can see, imagine Lee on a rainy day not doing landscape architecting and want to beef up her social media. So one thing she could do is take a bunch of pictures of beautiful landscaping that she's done and put them on her social media feed. Well, if she has 5 pictures, she doesn't want to put 5 pictures up at once, because then they're just going to get all crammed together. If she uses one of these tools, Buffer or Hootsuite, she can actually schedule those to go out at a later date. So what this allows you to do from a workflow standpoint is put all your stuff together, figure out when it wants to go out. The other thing these tools will allow you to do is to, with one posting through Buffer or Hootsuite, put it on all these other platforms. And if you put it on all these other platforms, particularly Twitter, it gets picked up by the other stuff. So it's a way to turn one effort into 5, into 15, into 20 very quickly. So you can magnify your effect. The thing it gives you back, these give you back, is analytics. So they will tell you when should you post. And so I got here a little early. I was talking to the librarian down there. I know that Buffer and Hootsuite tells me that my most effective time to post is 3:15 in the afternoon. For her, it was 7 a.m. So that's when the librarian has found it to be most effective for her. So they'll figure this out from your social media, and the way they do it is how people interact with your stuff. Right? So you guys have heard of likes, people liking it. There's retweeting or resharing. These tools are going to keep track of all that and inform you back as to what's happening. And so both of these tools work on a model we call freemium, which is they'll give you a high amount of utility for free, and if you want more of it, you pay up. So I'm a big fan of this. So like I mentioned, I'll do Buffer. Maybe I'll be sitting on my couch after my kids have gone to bed, watching TV. I'll queue up my social media at 10, 11 at night. It'll go out over the next 2-3 days. So that's a tool that'll allow you to do it. Some other tools I like for images are Pablo and Pexels. So let me explain what Pablo and Pexels are. These are 2 different sites. Pablo is actually made by Buffer. And if you've ever seen these things like this, it says, it's got some inspirational text on top of an image, and the image is lightly blurred out. Well, Pablo lets you make these just like that. And so you can use their images, you can upload images. Actually, I should have brought up here. I made one of these for this event that Tony did in June. And so I think I took a picture of Tony and then overlaid something inspirational Tony said about be the brand, not the logo, or something like that. So Pablo is a very useful tool. So you can take some pictures of your landscape architecture, overlay it with green is love. And she can even assign, you can give me credit for this quote.
Thanks.
So a really neat tool that is super easy to use, quick, and because it's part of Buffer, when you create this image, it then puts it right into their machine and gets it out there. So spread around. Pexels is a company out of Germany who is kind of shaking up the stock imagery industry. So if you guys are familiar with stock photos, so stock photos are photos that are professionals have taken, and if you use them, you are meant to pay them some royalty. And there's a whole very complex set of circumstances about use of those. Well, what Pexels is doing is they're providing the extremely high quality, high resolution, professionally done photos for free, and they ask you to pay on a contribution basis. So if you use one of their images, you can use it for free and you're not violating any rights. It's a non-exclusive use. If, though, it is adding value to you, then they ask that you donate to the photographer, which I think is a very interesting model.
They make money at that?
They do. They do. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the industry who are not thrilled with them, but they're growing. What this means for you, you can choose what value you put on this picture.
Okay, what's their business model? Pexels, not the photographers are participate, they get a cut of that donation then? Or?
So interestingly, what Pexels seems to be doing now is, and I think the model is going to evolve, what they're doing now is when you do a search for a certain subject matter, if they don't have it, they will send you to one of these paid sites, and they're going to get a bid for sending you over. So they currently seem to be very well integrated with Shutterstock. Shutterstock is one of the big sites. Shutterstock, give you an idea of order of magnitude. I think an image on Shutterstock, the lowest price is $25, and goes up from there. So they can say, look on Pexels, you find what you're looking for, you can download it for free, make a donation. When I've done it, my standard donation is $1. I don't know if I'm being cheap, but that's just the number I use. And I've gotten thank you letters from photographers like, thanks for $1. So I think that's how they're making money now. It'll be interesting to watch them. Just people asking the same question with YouTube early on, like how the heck is YouTube going to make any money? Because for the longest time there were no even video ads. And they figured it out, and they even have a premium service now. So I think Pexels is doing something pretty interesting because these are extremely high quality photographs, both in the resolution quality, but they're also curated. It's not just a bunch of, if you just do a Google image search, you can get all kinds of junk. So that's just another tool I like. I couldn't come up with any clever things to put on the slide, but I just wanted to talk about hashtags for a second. So this is a non sequitur. Have you guys heard of hashtags? So the way to think about hashtags, they're actually a relatively old thing in the internet. They date all the way back to some early HTML, hypertext markup language, is the language that most websites are built on. And you would tag web pages to say, here's what this web page is all about. Well, hashtags are a micro way of saying, here's what my message is supposed to be talking about. And it allows, primarily Twitter, but other people have followed it, allows those sites to aggregate people who use the same hashtag. And so if you, I don't know, let's see, what would be a topic that you may want to, maybe you're...
I can help you, because I just Instagrammed you being here, and I did a hashtag STSA, Southern Tier Startup Alliance. I don't know if it's Southern Tier Startup Alliance, but STSA came up with 10,000
right.
hits or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and for all we know, it's like the Southern Texas Soccer Association.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Rizzy?
When we post things around, we hashtag STMakes, and then you can click on that hashtag, and it will show you everything we've ever Instagrammed with that hashtag. So if someone comes upon something we've Instagrammed, and they hit that, they can see everything we've previously done in that category.
And I mean, any of the big trending things that you hear about now, Black Lives Matter is a very famous tag.
Yep.
Why I Stayed was one about women who were not leaving their abusers that was very hot probably about 6 months ago.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, so you see it, so you'll hear, you may be watching television, Good Morning America, and they'll say hashtag GMA, things like that. So that's what they're talking about, because they're grouping you to be part of the conversation, because that's a lot of what Twitter's about, is trending. So we'll hit that in a second. A few other, this is a couple protocols. I didn't really know where to put these, so this is kind of a catch-all. But first, if you're going to be on social media, it behooves you to be active, but active over time. That's where these tools like Buffer can be really helpful. And you can figure out how active you want to be, but I encourage you to figure out some consistency. So really active people post multiple times a day. I'm not necessarily endorsing that, but just be consistent and space it out. If people do comment, be sure to respond. And if you are using social media for your business, I encourage you to be very light on the advertising and very heavy on the entertainment value. So in Lee's case, lots of pictures of shrubbery, very few promotions about half-price azaleas. So things of that nature. Don't ask for likes. Don't tag people in your images that aren't relevant. So let's say somebody like Kanye West is trending right now. Unless it's a bush that looks exactly like Kanye, Lee should not tag Kanye West in her post. Now it would be a really smart idea if you did have a bush, a shrubbery that looked like Kanye, and then that could get you followers. So that's a way you can use this in your favor. so, yeah, so I wouldn't tag, so Judy is not gonna tag this event as GNA, because people look at the Good Morning America type events, that'd be silly. But if there's somehow we could tie it into that, but don't tag people on all that. And this one's a big one, don't buy followers. There's a whole industry of selling followers. It's largely been discredited, but it still happens. So I would discourage you, and you'll get contacted by paid followers. They're sort of make you look better than others. Apparently, a lot of it was just going on in the early days of our presidential campaigns.
So what's the difference between, and it's still confusing to me. I know I think one's got something to do with the actual reference to people or something, but when you put a hashtag versus when you put the @ sign.
Okay, so when you do the hashtag, you're saying, I want to be a part of a trend. When you put the @ sign, that's specific to Twitter. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It says, because there's @STSA, you're actually referencing, it's an actual account. So one is a trending subject, where the other is an actual account.
Now, how does it behave? So the hashtag shows up for anybody searching for that tag.
Yes.
What happens with the @ set? Does that show up on their feed? Or?
So so my Twitter handle is Brad Treat, one word. So if you were to type @Brad Treat, it would tag me directly, and so people could search for other places I've been tagged. Whereas if you maybe did the subject of hashtag Brad Treat, it might show up differently. But the @ is tied to a specific account.
It's also a shortcut on Facebook, just to confuse you further.
And
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
You click on it, it takes you directly to that person.
To the page.
To a person. Whereas you brought up the Black Lives Matter, unless there's a Twitter account called Black Lives Matter that one person had control over versus the hashtag, which means everybody who wants to use that could. That makes sense? It's a subtle but important difference. Okay, good. So that's the high level overview. So, I want to quickly talk about paid marketing, paid advertising. I'm actually in favor of this. So let me just put out some words there. I can't see my notes here. Okay. So some terminology you may see, and let me just preface this by saying PPM, price per mille, or CPM. Folks use those interchangeably. One is price per, one is cost per. So if you hear somebody talking about CPM, they're talking about the same thing. So price per mille, that's M is the Roman numeral for 1,000. So when somebody says they're charging a price per PPM, that's the cost for 1,000 impressions. So I just show my ad 1,000 times. CPC, or PPC, is you have to actually click on it. So PPM would be common in something like a news site. So if you're looking at CNN.com and there's an ad, just them showing that ad, they get paid for it, regardless of whether you click on it. Whereas sort of the king of PPC is Google. So Google shows you an ad. They don't charge the advertiser for showing that ad. They don't charge them until you interact with it and click on it. And so then there's PPA, per acquisition, or price per action. This is you have to actually do something beyond just click. So the most common form of this is capturing an email address. So, what people have found, just like you don't want to buy followers on social media, you don't want to buy an email list. This has largely been discredited as invaluable. Not invaluable, not valuable. You want people to opt in to your email list. And so a PPA campaign would be around that. And so these are some of the reasons you would do it. PPMs are good for brand. PPC is good for getting people to act right now. PPA is getting people to take a specific action at a certain time. The last I want to mention here is affiliates. And so this is largely around whether it's a financial transaction. And the king of affiliates is Amazon. So you could sign yourselves up as an Amazon affiliate right now. And if you have links and you send people to Amazon and that person bought something from Amazon, you'll get between 3 and 6% of the sale of that item. So this is another way that particularly content providers online are making money. So if you see an article about somebody, I don't know, selling designer coffee mugs, and they write an article about it, and they provide a link, and that link maybe takes you over to Amazon, there's a good chance that they're going to get a piece of that action if you buy a coffee mug. What's important, the reason it's not nefarious is that percentage comes out of Amazon's piece. It's not layered onto yours. So you pay the same price either way. So they're not evil, but they're being financially incentivized for promoting things. Okay, so let's dive into these a little bit. So AdWords is the Google platform. So Google AdWords, and so you show an ad based on what you're looking for. These are really good for immediate actions. I want you to do something right now. This group probably remembers the yellow pages. This is the digital yellow pages. So if you remember the yellow pages, it was advertisers organized by types of service or products they may be providing to the community. And then depending on what they paid to the yellow pages, the size of their ads would vary. Well, that's what's happening here. So the higher up you're listed, and Google's very clear about what are ads versus what are natural search. The higher up you're listed is the higher up you're willing to pay. It's a bid system. The other thing that's important to know about Google AdWords is if people are advertising on AdWords and they don't get clicked on enough, Google will stop showing that ad. So if you're thinking about doing AdWords, one thing that's important is AdWords is really not AdWords, it should be ad phrases. So you're not going to buy the ad for cafe. You're going to buy the ad for Cafe Montour Falls, New York, and really, really long. And they have no limit to how many you can. You can have thousands. And I used to run a 20,000 phrase AdWord campaign, and you can get very specific on location, time of day. I could see the Harvest Cafe saying, "Listen, I don't want to run AdWords when I'm closed." Right, so let's only run AdWords in the morning. Make it geographically specific. Now their location is a little bit limited. They're not down to the square foot, but they're essentially as much information as they can get, sort of in a broad sense, as to who your internet service provider is. So you may be here and see ads for things in Rochester. Well, the reason for that is that may be as specific as they're able to get. So just a little piece of trivia. Insurance is the most expensive word on Google. So if you type in something insurance and click on the ad, that advertiser is paying Google $5 for that click. So Facebook shows ads based on who you are, and this is really about long-term engagement. The big action they want you to do is to like that company or service on Facebook, and you're going to stay engaged with those people over time. So Lee McGonigal's going to get me to like her page, and then every time she posts some shrubbery, I get that showing up on my Facebook feed. So she may initially pay to have the ads shown for her stuff, but then she actually gets the long-term engagement of now I'm a follower. So it has a large downstream component. And so it'll show you ads on who you are and people are similar to you. And this is an area that's very popular with sports and musicians. Do you guys know who Cristiano Ronaldo is? Soccer player. Okay, so give you an idea of the reach. I don't know what the U.S. number is, but I'm sure there's somebody different in the U.S., but Ronaldo has 1.6 million Facebook followers. So you can imagine that he can be quite influential. And the largest company is McDonald's, probably reflective of how big and wide they are as well. So I talked about Instagram being mobile only. They have a lot of tools to make these images useful, the carousels being one of them. So it's not just a picture, but it's a revolving set of pictures. I mentioned that they're owned by Facebook. Their ability to locate where you are is much more micro, because depending on what your settings are, you're giving them more information about where you are. So Instagram is not going to mistake you for being in Rochester. They may not get you down to this cafe, but they're not going to make that broad mistake about Rochester. Like I said, it's a very image-based site. So if you look at who the companies that get followed, National Geographic, Nike, and Victoria's Secret are all brands who would have popular imagery. So depending on what your product is, if you have something that's very visually focused, like lovely shrubbery, then this could be your medium. One thing I should also mention between Facebook and Instagram from an operations standpoint, I'm talking about